Hey everybody, Cheryl here from Healthy Living Gardens to Table, and today we are making chicken 2 to 3 different kind of ways. And the reason I say 2 to 3 is because depending on how big your chicken is how many times and how many meals you'll be able to get out of it. But today I'm going to show you at least 2 ways to be able to have your meal on the dinner table today as well as dinner ready for tomorrow. Let's get started. So I have a whole roaster chicken here, and it's a whole Amish chicken that I got from Costco. Thawed it in the refrigerator, so that's the slow method. If you think about it the night before, make sure you're putting it in the refrigerator to thaw. If you're thinking about it that morning, you know, you can definitely leave it out in some cold water, whatever you choose and you're more comfortable with. I prefer to do it the other way. Anyway, so this is going to be a lemon thyme chicken, which I absolutely love. Now, if you've bought one of those roaster chickens from the grocery store and you love them and you use them throughout the week, this is for you. Start it on a Sunday, have it ready. You can cut off of it and put it on salads all week, have it for dinner that night, and still be able to make the yummy soup that we're going to make afterwards, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start out with, I already washed it and I dried it, so you kind of, you know, you want to wash the packaging stuff off and it sits in it, some of its juice and things like that. I have it in a pie type pan. It's a ceramic type pie pan, and then I lined it with parchment paper. I try not to use foil as much as possible because it can be very toxic, and so I try not to do that. I put a couple pieces, one that'll sit in the bottom, and then one I can just wrap down in it tightly. Have the oven preheated right now to 375. I'll knock that up a little bit to about 425 when I go to put it in, and then we'll cook it for about 45 minutes depending on the size of your chicken and the poundage. So you want to make sure you go online and check how many minutes you want to cook a full roasted chicken at the pound that you put in the oven, so that you make sure that it's that's done right. And I want to make, and so that it's not red in the middle. I'll show you a good trick to find out if it's red in the middle as well. So you want to take some olive oil, and I just pour it on the top and give it a good douse. And then I'm going to take some thyme, which I grow my own thyme, but if you don't, dry thyme is fine, but measuring it is up to you. I really just take a handful and sprinkle it on the top, and probably, I would think, maybe a tablespoon or so. And then you're going to take lemon, and you're going to juice a lemon and pour that on the top. I'm going to do about 1.5 lemons, depending on how much juice that you get in. And then you're going to take whatever is left on the lemon after you juice it, and you're going to shove it right into that cavity. Okay, and then I'm going to pour this right on the top. And then I'm going to juice the other lemon. I'm going to pour that on the top. You know what, I think that gave me enough juice. I just probably only need 2, and then I'm going to put the other lemon inside. So you're going to kind of rub that around and make sure you get the legs as well. And pour a little bit more olive oil. But I could probably, not much more. Alright. Just making sure you get the legs. Okay. And then you're going to take the top of the paper, bring it all the way in, and you're just going to wrap it in and fold it in like that. Okay. Kind of fold it over. It's not as easy as foil, but it's better for you. So you're going to kind of just fold it over itself like that. I probably could have cut a little bit of a longer piece, so it would have cut over better. But, alright. Okay. So then you're going to go ahead and put it in the oven. Put that in. Put that up a little higher. 425. And on mine, I'm going to put it in for 45 minutes. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some root vegetables to go with it. And to mimic what I did there, I'm going to go ahead and take some of the new potatoes, and I already washed those. And I'm going to take a red onion, and I'm going to take some carrots, and I'm going to mimic what I did there by putting olive oil and thyme, salt, and pepper in it as well. Okay, so you're just mimicking right what you did there. And I'm just putting a quick dice on this, just bite-sized pieces. These bigger ones I'll do a little smaller. And I don't mind the skin being on them with these smaller potatoes. It's such a thin skin, it really doesn't give a taste. Like, if you don't care for the taste of like regular potatoes that like Baker's or something like that, you know, care for the skin. I wash these so they're, you know, even the skin is just fine. Like I said, they're thinner, so you really just don't taste it as much. Okay. Let's chop on that. And carrots. Let me grab my quick peel. Now, of course, if you have a larger family, then you'll do more than just 2 carrots, but however much your family enjoys, because leftovers are always good. Just a rough chop. Oh, carrot overboard. There you go. And then again, just the rough chop. Just throwing it all over the place. A rough chop on your onion as well. And that'll give it a great flavor. I always like red onions better than I do the white onions. They have a sweeter flavor. And roasted, they taste really good. Oftentimes I'll take the vegetables and put them on a cookie sheet platter and roast them that way. This just gives it a different flavor. But I love roasted vegetables. Alright, we'll put some olive oil in there. I'm going to take lemon, another reason why I'm glad I saved that lemon, and I'm going to put lemon in there as well. Okay. Alright, some salt, about a teaspoon of pink salt, and then our thyme. So it's a teaspoon of thyme, and then pepper. Okay. Give that a quick stir. And again, we're just going to throw that in. It should be with these root vegetables, and as many as in there, it should be done the same time as the chicken. When we come back, I will show you the finished product of the chicken, and then we will go ahead and make the soup that I make with this chicken. I'll be right back. And we're back, and it looks phenomenal. Now go ahead, tell me that this does not look like something you get in the store when you go and get a roasted chicken. It did take a little longer than I thought it was, and let me show you really quick. Let's see, make sure I get this on camera. Make sure I show you how you can know if your chicken is done. So the last half hour of your cooking, what you want to make sure is you do is you open it all up so it browns. But when you take and when you pull on the leg, you want to make sure that it pulls well, and see how that pulled right out. That means it's beautifully done. But also, if that doesn't pull out, you can go ahead and take a knife and score it to make sure if that leg part, when it pulls away from the breast, is still pink or not done like mine was. You want to make sure you put it back in and cook it more. I actually cooked it for another half hour, so my oven's probably just not cooking the way it used to cook any longer. And then there's some beautiful gravy down in here. So it's the juice, it's the lemon juice, and it's the olive oil, and it's the thyme. You can go ahead and throw that in a pan. I use arrowroot when I make a gravy, and you can cook that down with some stock in the box and make a gravy. And so this is going to be beautiful. And then the roasted vegetables, look at how amazing that looks. Doesn't that look beautiful? So that is dinner tonight. As soon as that cools down, I'm going to come back and show you how to make a lime chicken soup from half of this chicken. So stay tuned and we will be right back. Hey everybody, it's a new day. It is the next day actually, which we had company come over yesterday, so I changed shirts last night, showed you the chicken, and we ate. And then I decided it was probably better to do the part B with you, to show you, and this is something you probably want to do as well, is to you know, have your meal, have your vegetables and your potatoes, and they were amazing, and your chicken, whatever. We eat the legs first. It's just the legs and the wings are things that we eat first, the dark meat, and usually the white meat is saved for a different dish, lunches and soup. So it's easier to get off the bone and for me to be able to manage this. So this is going to be a chicken lime soup. I know this was a chicken lemon thyme dish, but we're going to turn this back into a lime dish, which will be fine. The lemon lime, you'll never taste the whole difference. But what I wanted to show you is, so you can do this soup if you would want, with just regular, you know, buy yourself a chicken, cook your chicken up. I am not a fan of boiled meat, so I would say sear the chicken off first. I do plan on doing a different segment on how to make chicken soup without boiling the meat, because I don't like boiled meat. It tastes rubbery to me. Anyway, so you want at least 2 cups of chicken is what you're wanting to be left with. The other thing that you want to make sure is there's going to be like a little bit of differences, and I'm going to write up the recipe, and I'll make sure I post it with both versions. But with this recipe, I'm going to use water. I don't need to use chicken stock, because I'm actually going to use the carcass of the chicken, so it's going to have all the flavor. And if you look in the pan, I still have have all the juices from overnight, and that's the fat, and it's going to bring, I'm going to put that in the pan as well, and that's going to make it where you get that nice rich stock with all the vegetables in it. So I really don't need to use the stock in a box. If you want to, you more than can. I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to start with though is I'm going to start with the vegetables. And in this recipe, of course, it's got, you know, it's got the chicken, and it's going to have lime juice. I already juiced some of my lime. It doesn't require this much, but I'm using it for a lot of recipes this week. And then it has diced canned tomatoes. I didn't have them, but if the recipe is going to call for the ones with chilies in it, I prefer that. Is it an absolute must? No, but it is actually better. But use what you have on hand, and that's what I always say. In the kitchen, when you're looking at a recipe, if you don't have something, use what you have on hand, because it does transfer. It calls for celery. It calls for onions. I have these are shallots, so I like to use shallots once in a while, so I'm going to use the shallots. 4 cloves of garlic, very, very garlicky. So I have that. A bunch of Cilantro. If you can find good Cilantro in your area in the winter, good on you. It's not so easy. And a jalapeno and some cumin. So let's get started. I'm going to put this stock pot on, start heating that up, and then I will cut my vegetables and add them as soon as they are, as soon as that's brought up to heat. I'm recording this during between Christmas and New Year's, so we had people come over last night, and sometimes that happens, so I wanted to make sure I changed shirts, so the 3 shirts. But that's okay, right? I outed myself if you didn't notice it. Now you do. I like getting shallots. It's almost like you get 2 onions in one, but this one actually just came with the one. Usually, like this one will be, I'll show you, it's like 2 of them that are 2 onions in there hugging each other, I want to say. These shallots are almost like my favorite. If you watch me for any time at all, you'll know that I love red onions compared to any other onions. I use them more than I do any kind of white. If I'm going to use white onions, it's probably going to be like a Vidalia onion. It's sweeter. So, alright. That's chopped. I'm probably going to do 2 onions, but let me get this started. I also have switched over to, in my cooking, when I'm browning things like this, to grapeseed oil instead of olive oil. It just has a higher smoke point. And olive oil, when you heat it to a certain point, it's actually not it's supposed to be toxic for you, or just not so good for you. I don't know if it's exactly toxic, but I'm trying to be mindful of things like that so that, you know, we have enough toxic stuff in this world. Okay, I want to show you. See, this has got the 2 onions in it kissing. Anyway. The thing with shallots is they tend to get my eyes, so I hope I don't still fry them. They're a little bit stronger. And that's called for about a medium onion. If you use regular onions, if you don't want to use a shallot, you don't want to use a red onion, go ahead and use whatever onion you have on hand. I love using shallots in salad dressings, but I had some on hand and I hadn't used it, so I wanted to make sure I got them used up. When you scooch off anything off your cutting board, you always want to make sure you use the back of the knife so you're not leaving that sharp edge on your knife. Give this a quick stir. I'm getting it. It's getting my eyes. Okay, let me cut the celery next so that it's not as potent here. You just want to get the onions and the celery tender, and once those are tender, then you can start adding everything else in. And since this is pretty much the cooking that you're doing, since the chicken's already cooked, when you throw it all together, it's not as long as a cooking time. But you do want to make sure that after you do this, and since we're putting the bones in, it's gonna want to simmer for about 20 minutes from that time. So, and then you put your chicken in. You don't want it to go in there and, again, boil. Okay, now my garlic in. Whack. Take off the paper that way. A little bit of a not very nice thing on that. The other thing I do is I like to use my grater, my plain grater, when I put the garlic in, so that you're not biting into a raw piece of garlic, or even, you know, one that didn't get cooked all the way. Flying food in my kitchen. You know, for as much garlic as I get, maybe I should get that stuff that's pre-peeled already. But I always don't know how long it's been peeled and how long it's been in there. So I always kind of leery of that stuff. Then you're going to want to run your finger along the back. Make sure you're not running, you run like with the grain out against, because that would hurt, slicing your finger open. That quick stir. Oh, I love the smell of onions and garlic. It smells so good. I'm going to put the tomatoes in. And that'll deglaze that pot. Oh, it smells so good. Okay. Now I'm gonna slice up this jalapeno. Now, if you're not one for heat, make sure when you're doing the jalapeno, you take out all the seeds, because that's the seeds and the membrane right here is where the heat lives. And make sure that you watch so you don't get it. I don't have gloves on today. I probably should, but when you're working with jalapenos, you want to make sure that you wash your hands really good and don't touch your eyes, because just think about how your eyes water when you're cutting an onion, and then magnify that. Oh man. Alright. See if you can see that, how I'm running my knife along the edge there to get that membrane off. Garbage bowl there, and then you're just gonna slice it really, really thin. Again, if there is heat that lives in the jalapeno, in the flesh itself, but not as much as in the membrane and the seeds. So get those all out. But if you're not one for heat, you can totally leave this out. If you like me and I like medium heat, then just you can do half of this, or you can do the whole thing, whichever one you want to do. I probably am going to cut the whole thing and only use half, to tell you the truth. There we go. Now you save this other half for another dish. Just put that on the corner of my cutting board. Okay, now I'm gonna put in the cumin seed. And the cumin, you're gonna want a quarter of a teaspoon of cumin. Hold on 1 second, I need to grab my little measuring thing. Okay, just a little. And then you want to put in your oregano. And for the oregano, it's a tablespoon. So this is half a teaspoon rather. So this is half a teaspoon, so I'm going to put 2 of these in. So when I buy my oregano, I like to go to, there's a spice place that I like here in Michigan. It's called Penzeys. And when I grew oregano a couple of summers ago, the Greek oregano was better, sorry Italian people, but better than the Italian. The flavor was more rich, and so I asked her which one, because they didn't have it, so I got the Turkish, just so you know, it's the Turkish oregano. So, and then I'm half a teaspoon of salt, and I have a teaspoon of pepper, and then just, you know, I always say that you can add more salt than you can take it away, so make sure that you put just so much in, and then when you go to taste it, you make sure you taste for flavor and add it as necessary. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this whole carcass in there, and I'm going to use my little spatula and scrape all that inside of there for that. It's the gelatin, the goodness. And then I'm going to pour in the water. And that was 4 cups. So you want to make sure it's enough to cover the chicken completely, and that wasn't, so let me go get some more water. Okay, there we go. I'm going to turn that over so that it's in there really good. There we go. Okay, so that's going to simmer for 20 minutes, and then we're going to let that simmer and come back and put in the rest of the cilantro, the lime juice, and the spinach, and the chicken. So we want to make sure we let that simmer first and then do that, okay? Be right back. Let's taste it. I don't know if you're team bowl or cup, but I like my soup in a cup. It's easier for me. Get some of that broth and chicken and tomatoes. Okay. Always want to check it for seasoning to make sure there's enough salt in there. Yep, it's really good. It's really good. And then if you taste it and it's not enough lime in there, you obviously can add a little squeeze of extra lime if you wanted to, but this tastes really, really good. I'm really excited about how this tasted. So this is something that's great to warm yourself up. We're here in Michigan, and so it gets cold. So January is my soup month, so I'm super excited about that. Let me taste it with the chicken. Well, it took a minute to come together. 2 nights, and that's okay. Like I said, yesterday I put together the chicken, and we had the roasted chicken with the thyme and the lemon and the roasted vegetables that were amazing. And then today, you know, I put the chicken carcass with the rest of the breast meat back in the refrigerator. Let that the bottom of it gelatinize to be able to put into the soup. It made a perfect base. I didn't need to do stock in a box with it when you put the carcass in it, so it's super duper easy. The next day, you just chop a few extra vegetables, put it in a stock pot. Now we have soup for the rest of the week. So if you liked this content and would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button and the like button and share it with your friends. And we'll see you next time on Healthy Living Garden to Table.